Hello, everyone. This is Ain't Nobody Squeaky Clean. I wanted to welcome you back to the podcast. You could have chosen to be anywhere in the world, but you came here. So let me see if I can give you some food today. First off, I really appreciate you guys for joining. Don't forget to share this with your friends and family. Send them the link. Get everybody to subscribe. Let's get that count up. Some of these are not being viewed by too many yet, and that's okay because it takes time to grow organically. But with your help, I think we can get this information out there a little bit quicker, and a lot of people could use it because we're all going through something. And if we can have something to lean on that may inspire us or pull something out of us that wouldn't have been pulled out any other way, I think we can find the value in us sharing things with one another. All right, so let me get back to the podcast. Today, I want to talk about something that happened to me yesterday, and it really got me thinking. I was invited to a house party. It wasn't my first time. I actually had been there before. But let me tell you something. There's always something different about being in that environment. The house is beautiful. Cars outside are incredible. There's obvious financial success all around. But that's not actually what impacted me the most. What hit me was the energy, the conversations, the confidence, the optimism, the mindset. It made me realize something. Success has an energy to it. And when you're around it, you can't help but start imagining more for yourself. Now, let me be clear. This isn't about jealousy at all. This isn't about comparing yourself to somebody else. It's about inspiration. And there's a huge difference. When I walked through the house, I wasn't thinking, I wish this was mine. I was thinking, if they can do it, why can't I? And that's a completely different mindset. You know what's interesting? Most of us spend our lives around people who are just trying to survive. Pay the bills, get through another week, complain about work, talk about what's wrong with the economy, talk about how unfair life is, and eventually that becomes normal. You don't even realize how much of your environment shapes your thinking. Then you walk into a room where people are discussing businesses that they're building, investments they're making, vacation homes, their kids' futures, charitable foundations, new opportunities, and suddenly your brain starts operating on an entirely different frequency. Not because they're better people, but because they've conditioned themselves to think differently. I've been through my share of struggles. I've experienced unemployment. I'm still unemployed at the moment. Financial hardship, in the middle of that right now. Moments where I honestly wondered how I was going to make it. So when I tell you that being around successful people motivates me, I mean it. It reminded me that my current circumstances don't have to become my permanent destination. One thing I noticed, nobody in that house was walking around trying to impress everyone. They weren't bragging. They weren't flashing money. They weren't trying to prove anything. They were simply comfortable, confident, relaxed, nice, heartwarming. That confidence comes from years of putting in work. Success often becomes quiet. Insecurity is usually what's loud. Let me say that again. Success often becomes quiet. Insecurity is usually what's loud. Here's another thing I realized. Successful people don't just buy nice things, they buy freedom. Freedom to travel, freedom to spend time with family, freedom to pursue passions, freedom to give back, freedom to make decisions because they want to, not because they have to. And that may be the greatest luxury of all. Now, here's the important part. You don't need wealthy friends to become successful, but you absolutely need people who think bigger than you currently do. People who challenge your thinking, people who normalize growth, who encourage discipline, people who celebrate wins instead of criticizing ambition. Because eventually, You begin to rise to the expectations of the room that you're sitting in. There's a famous saying, you become like the people you spend the most time with. And I believe that's true. If everyone around you thinks making 50,000 is impossible, you'll probably start thinking the same. If everyone around you believes starting a business is too risky, you'll probably never try. And if everyone around you says investing is only for rich people, you'll probably never invest. But if you're surrounded by people who have actually done those things, suddenly they don't seem impossible anymore. They seem achievable. One of the biggest lessons I learned that night wasn't financial, it was psychological. Success expands your vision. It forces you to ask, what have I been limiting myself from believing? Sometimes the biggest obstacle isn't money. It isn't education. It isn't opportunity. It's the ceiling we've unknowingly placed over our own thinking. Walking through that house and in that backyard, around the pool, it reminded me of something years ago. I probably would have felt out of place, maybe even intimidated. But this time, I didn't. Instead, I felt motivated. I wasn't looking at what I didn't have. I was looking at what was possible. And that is growth. I'm working toward becoming financially successful. Not because I need a mansion, but I would love one. Not because I need expensive cars, but that ain't bad. But because I want options. I want to create opportunities for my family. I want to help others. I want to build businesses, and I want financial peace. And I want to prove to myself that difficult seasons don't define the rest of your life. If you're listening today, maybe you're struggling. Maybe you're unemployed. Maybe you've hit financial rock bottom. Maybe you're wondering if life is ever going to change. Let me encourage you. Do not isolate yourself. Find environments that inspire you. Attend networking events where people with like-minded thoughts are going to be at. Don't just go to any old thing, but find people that are on the trajectory that you aspire to be at. Listen to successful people. Go to conferences. Read books. Watch interviews. Connect with mentors. Find things to look at on social media where people are thinking on that level. Put yourself in rooms where people are dreaming bigger than you currently are. Because eventually, you'll start dreaming bigger too. So I've heard people say money changes people, and maybe sometimes it does. But I also believe success reveals people. It reveals discipline, patience, consistency, vision, sacrifice. Those things happen long before the money ever arrives. That party wasn't just another social gathering for me. It became motivation. It reminded me why I'm working or trying to work, why I'm applying for jobs, why I'm building this podcast, why I'm creating content, why I wrote a book in 2020, why I refuse to quit, because I know my story isn't finished. Maybe one day someone will walk into my home, not to admire the house, but to feel the same energy I felt. An energy that says dream bigger, work harder, stay humble, keep believing, because success isn't just something you own, it's something you create. And hopefully, it's something you inspire in other people. So, let me tell you something. I've got friends that have made changes in their lives, and they're working on their mindsets, and they're doing different things, and I see it all the time, and I'm proud of them. They're like, your mindset is where it needs to be. And that's where it starts. Because if you don't have the proper mindset, success can't come to you. Not in the way that you want it to. Because you're always going to look for the easy way out. You're always going to feel some kind of way if something doesn't go right. You're going to crumble. Because you're going to say, oh, I was trying and it didn't work. That's not how this works. And you have to elevate yourself because there will be people around you that have to be around you that you can't cancel out of your life that are not going to be on the frequency that you're on. I've had this conversation with my own wife. There are thoughts and dreams that she has that may not be at the level that mine are, and that's okay because those are her thoughts and dreams. But that doesn't mean that she won't support me and mine. She's not going to say this is the only way that you can think and that's it. But there will be people in your circle that do think like that and that will say that. Oh, you're thinking too big. You better go out here and become a bus driver. Or you thinking too big. You better go out here and put an application in at McDonald's. And again, there's nothing wrong with those jobs. But what they're saying is whatever you're dreaming is not going to work. And those mindsets are the people that you need to stay away from at all costs. Because they will bring you down rather than you bringing them up. And you don't want anybody to skew you off of the path that you are thinking about, that you want to go down. It is your path. It is your dream. It is your vision. You just need to reinforce that and put yourself around like-minded people so you can come up with opportunities and thoughts that are going to feed that are going to fuel that. Make sure your cup stays full. Thanks so much for listening today. If this episode encouraged you, share it with someone who's trying to level up in life. And remember, don't envy success. Study it, learn from it, and let it motivate you. Because the life you admire today could become the life you're living tomorrow if you're willing to put in the work. Let me say another thing about work. I know you guys have heard that a lot. Put in the work, put in the work, put in the work. But you know what a lot of us say? What the heck does that mean? Because you can go out here and do a lot of nothing and think that you're doing something. But you're just doing a lot of nothing. You're spinning your wheels. You're not getting anywhere. And that's because you have to elevate your mindset. You have to be around people that can get things done. Be around people that have gotten things done. Because you might be blocked just because you don't know the next step. I've been there many times in my life. I tried to start a business one time. We had a business plan together. And then I was like, now what? And neither one of us knew what the now what was. And we didn't have people in our circle that were willing to help us to that level. What I did here were, I thought about that a few years ago myself, and then I just figured out I couldn't do it. And that's all you get. But no one wants to help you take that step because some people are risk averse and some people just don't have the knowledge necessary. You've got to seek out the people that have the knowledge and the willingness to share. And if they're not willing to share, pull it out of them, right? Talk to them. The more you talk to people and they see that you're serious, usually someone will want to help you get there because they see how serious you are. You know, in the movies, they say, if you're serious, I'll see you at 4 a.m. And then when they get there at 4 a.m., if you're waiting on them, because you've been there since 3:30, they know you're serious. But if you're struggling in there, rubbing your eyes at 4:05, they're not going to tell you a thing. So line yourself up right first, and then you'll get the help that you need, the guidance you need, and then it's on you whether or not you want to take it wherever you want to take it. But first, it's you. So when people say do the work, make sure you're doing the right work. Study everything, learn from it, and let it motivate you. Because the life you admire today could become the life you're living tomorrow if you're willing to put in the work. Keep growing, keep believing, and keep putting yourself in rooms that challenge you to become the best version of yourself. This is Ain't Nobody Squeaky Clean. And as always, I hope you have a blessed day and a blessed week. And I hope this inspired you to be the best version of yourself. And lastly, I want to say, I know I talked about being a bus driver or working at McDonald's. Some people will tell you that there's nothing wrong with those jobs at all. So don't take it that I'm pushing those jobs down. But if you're dreaming bigger than that, then they shouldn't pull you down to the levels that they feel comfortable to tell you, because they're labeling where you should be, because they are uncomfortable with how you're thinking and they want you to do something that they want you to do, not what you want to do. So stand strong in your belief, and victory shall be yours. I hope you have a blessed day and a blessed week. As always, this is Ain't Nobody Squeaky Clean. We will talk soon.